On page 7 at the bottom, correct, Chaim? Yes, correct.
Did you finish the Veinhu?
Yeah, we did the neder. The neder amnos. The person makes a neder amnos that it should be kishe'eda yemufer makes a vow on the condition that when he makes it, it should be nullified. And the whole definition of the vow to begin with, it's nullification. So he's bringing out that this is the theme of the Maimon now. Echad, in contrast to Yochid. We say Hashem Echad, not Hashem Yochid. It would seem that Yochid would be a more appropriate term. God is absolute and one, unparalleled and singular. That's Yochid. Whereas God is one. God is one, there's two, there's three. One, not two. Yochid stands on its own. So he explained that Yochid is indeed true mitzad l'mayla, yichud yilah. There is only absolutely God and nothing else. But Hashem wants that truth to be felt by creation. That's the whole point. So this has to permeate the echad. So he started to explain, and this is important to us, this review we said yesterday. From the Abish's perspective, Hashem looks at creation, it is the whole validity of creation. He says two levels, one and higher still, greater bittul. Validity level one is, it's all simply the result of his will to be creation, and therefore there are no metzias at all. In other words, creation remains, even after it's created, just as it was when God first entertained creation, kavayachal, and desired it. And in the entertainment of it, obviously, there's no metzias of creation. It's just a desire for it. From the Abish's perspective, that doesn't change even after creation actually emerges. Still, in truth, entirely bottled of metzias. But that's not the ultimate source. The source, Bemis, is higher, deeper still within Hashem, and that is, he calls it Shem Alikim. It's not the classic Shem Alikim, already part of Ishtalshalus. Here, Shem Alikim means the Koyach HaGvul, the power, the ability, mitzad the shleimus, the perfection of the Ein Sof, that he has the ability to contain. He has the ability of finitude. So that's not even the Ratzon. The Ratzon is already an articulated desire. We're going deep within the divine, where it's just simply the potential for finitude. So from Hashem's perspective, that's exactly how he sees creation. There's no separation. It's merely the expression of his potential for finitude. And notwithstanding its emergence in actual creation, there's no difference for God. So it's all Yochid. It's how the Eibush, it's all Yochid. And there's no place for, in the words of the Yitzchayim, for Amidas Oilamas. Amidas Oilamas means that creation should emerge with a sense of stature, literally, or independence. That doesn't change for the Eibush. But Echad acknowledges our perspective. One, not two, not three. Aleph, Ches, Dalet. And the Kavanah is that in the Echad should be felt the Yochid. So the Echad is the emes is that the Echad is a tremendous unity. But the Echad acknowledges, it already embraces the perspective to some degree, the perspective of creation, Aleph, Ches, Dalet, 7 Rekim, etc. That was the first paragraph of Beis Dalet. The second paragraph was that the oil that comes post Tzimtzum, and it's the Tzimtzum that creates this perspective for us. It's all the tzimtzum that creates this perspective, this sense of, in our perspective of independence. So he says a very important point that is foundational to everything he's saying here. It's the opening lines of the second paragraph on page 7. You have a different text, okay. So the second paragraph is Daled, that the Eides, that the Achar HaTzimtzum, their BaChodesh is in the Eides of Lifnei HaTzimtzum. As we explained yesterday, that notwithstanding the Tzimtzum, the Oyer is not simply an Oyer produced post-Tzimtzum, but the Oyer is rooted prior to the Tzimtzum and penetrates the Tzimtzum. And what that means is that even as Hashem has created the Tzimtzum, giving rise to a perspective of separation, independence in increasing manner as Ishtalshel descends, nonetheless, since the Oyer of it all is rooted in Lifnei HaTzimtzum, latently carried within even the force of creation is the truth that creation can connect to through Avodah. That's what the Yid's Avodah is, the truth of total bittul, the truth of Lifnei HaTzimtzum, which for Hashem, Lifnei HaTzimtzum and post-Tzimtzum, there's no change. It's all Him. So since the Oyer, since the way creation works is not that He made it Tzimtzum, and then that's it. And the Oyer itself is eclipsed from the world of post-Tzimtzum, and now we have finite Oyer, and that's the end of the story. Not so. The Oyer, the Kav, that is nimshach through the Tzimtzum into the Mokim Cholo, as a result of the Tzimtzum, is rooted Lifnei HaTzimtzum. Again, what that means is that latently contained within even the finite expression of a likus, which from our perspective, finite is less, and more finite is less still, creating a whole ladder of divinity, closer, further, a whole Amidas HaOlamus. Nonetheless, within this very creative force is the Oyer Ein Sof itself is carried there, as it were, or the truth of the exclusivity of Hashem. So Echad is already acknowledges that there's a Tzimtzum, but acknowledging that's our world, further and closer, there's a reality, there's Ches, Rekiyah, the 7 heavens, higher, lower, Daled, and there's this world with the 4 directions. But nonetheless, even here we declare Hashem Echad. We declare even in this world of post-Tzimtzum that all is nullified to Him. So the Echad is saying the Yochid, but Echad is saying it. We're declaring Yochid. We're declaring Yochid even in our world, we're acknowledging this, where naturally there's a sense of separation and distance. Okay, I want to start again. I will start the second paragraph again of Eis Dalet, page 7. You have it? So again, so even the divine energy that's post-Tzimtzum, Shorasham made itself Lifnei HaTzimtzum. It's not that the Tzimtzum from creation even eclipses thereafter, going forward or going downward. The truth of the Ein Sof, not so. This Oyer in post-Tzimtzum is rooted and carries again the truth of the Ein Sof. Maybe she didn't have to do it that way. Didn't have to. Could have created the world in such a way that lost in us completely is the absolute truth of V'ned Muvadai, which is the logical way, because creation is at odds with the truth of the exclusivity and absoluteness of God. And you expect creation to be that way, but it's not. He created in such a way that through Avodah we should be able to reveal the Emes, even to a created being that in its own world is a created being. Because how does the kav work? Even after the tzimtzum, chozar v'heir, v'nitzav v'nimshach, Hashem then re-illuminated from the Ein Sof, the nimshach b'chinas hakav, and the kav emerges through the tzimtzum, but shu negeya v'dovok, it touches and is attached. This is the shyness of Chassidus in the Ein Sof. So that dveik is buried in Sof Shlef Tzimtzum, the b'chinas bittul b'mitzias mamish. And therefore, notwithstanding the pull of the tzimtzum externally, creating a whole hierarchy of levels and descriptions and lower, etc., but nonetheless, b'pnimius, it's connected, and b'pnimius, it's bottled b'mitzias. And again, avoda is to reveal that. Because of the dveikas, of the attachment, as it were, using this technical language, of the kav to the Ein Sof lifnei tzimtzum, nirgeshes b'yediyas haboirish lifnei tzimtzum. We can have a sense of God's perspective, the absolute truth. Not only we should be bittul, should be bottled, but literally have the divine perspective. The Eibush, as we said before the outset of the shir this morning, going from the previous paragraph, that for the Eibush to even post tzimtzum, it's nothing has changed. It's all just, creation is all merely his entertainment in the Ratzon, his desire for it, and higher still, which we explained as the Koyach HaGvul, in the Ein Sof, the Shleimus of Ein Sof. And here's the Chiddush, that if in the Ein Mitzumtzum, nonetheless, notwithstanding its contractional limitation and natural sense of independence and yeshus, nonetheless can be felt, again, this is only through Avodah, the truth of Ein Milvadoi. This is a great expression of that truth in the Ein Lifnei Tzimtzum itself. But we're talking about Echad because we're talking about creation. It's acknowledging this. When I say creation, I mean all the levels from post tzimtzum. You can't compare to the Hashem's absolute perspective. His knowledge, as it were. It wasn't even a creation. So here we're talking about post-creation. So it is thinking of Echad, it's not Yochid. Echad acknowledges that there's Isis Havas. That's a bigger Chiddush than Yochid. Yochid, there is no Ishavas. There's only the entertainment or the potential. Echad says there is, and still Yochid. Echad is saying there's Yochid even after Ishavas. Even after creation. That's the Chiddush that he said. And it's called in a Metzius. Why so why did Hashem make a Metzius? What's the purpose? We say why. We don't mean why it needs this. Doesn't need it. That's what's the purpose. Shekol in a Metzius, they chose to need it. That there should be the Inyan of Echad. Because there is actual creation. You cannot have this mile of Echad. That the oneness of Hashem, the exclusivity and absoluteness, oneness of Hashem embraces even the creation, that cannot be. You have to have this Olam, then you have the Chiddush of Echad. As we started saying earlier, bringing an example in Halacha, this is typical of the Rebbe, that the most profound concepts in Chassidus, and Rebbe finds a parallel in the simple halacha, because it's all one Torah and all expression of the Eibishter. So every inyan in Chassidus, the deepest inyan, have a parallel in Nigla. So what's the parallel in Nigla? Hanoider, somebody makes a vow, but he says, I'm saying now that when I make that vow, it becomes nullified immediately. So is there a vow or isn't there a vow? Answer, the vow is that when I make the vow, which I'm about to make, as I make it, as soon as I make it, it is nullified. It doesn't take hold. So when he makes that vow, did he make a vow? It is or it isn't. The answer is, its isness is this, and it should be isn't. It's only there that it should be in his battle. So to the Oilimus, are they here? They're not really here. They're only here to express that they're not here. And that's a big chiddush when, if they're not here to begin with. There's only Eibishter. If there's no creation, then there's only Eibishter. Good. When there's a creation says there's only Eibishter, then that is, as he says, even a bigger, a more dramatic, and more real, truer expression of his exclusivity. So what he's saying is, so why is there a world here? Why are we here? That we should scream, we are not. Not that we're not here. We're not a Metzias. It's all him. So likewise, creation, when he says Oiris, he means post-Simtzum. This hardcore Gvul, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, we're giving descriptions, Gewalt. So the whole emergence of Metzias, starting with the most sublime levels of Metzias, all the way down to Elam Hazar Gashmi, the Eibishter wants the bittul, that there is a Welt, and the Welt says, no, there's only Eibishter. So now, this is explored, now explained in further depth. You have a general idea? Yeah.
A quick question. The Inyan of Elikim is Tosh of Elikim, like...
Yeah, what?
The Inyan of Elikim that he says over here, which is higher than... Yeah, is that Ruach Elikim, Tosh of Ruach Elikim Tosh... Ruach Elikim Tosh of... he brings down, sometimes you're returning, like he brings in Noach, you do the Mayim Ravim.
Yeah, no.
Going back to Elikim, is this the level of Elikim he's referring to over here? Ruach Tosh of Elikim.
Ruach Elikim Tosh v'Shana Achlal goes on the Neshama Lamata through it Eliyah Lamaila. So there Elikim there means actual tzimtzum. Here when he says Elikim, it's the Koyach HaYulim, the Koyach HaYulim, the potential for it. In Atzmos, as it were, in the Shleimus of the Itself. Higher even the Aliyah Saratzen. Again, the Aliyah Saratzen is God actually entertains creation. Before entertaining creation, deeper within him is the potential for finitude, without even having expressed a desire for it. If I'm not mistaken, he's going to elaborate upon this in this very next paragraph. We'll get more explanation. Let's plow ahead, friends. This was the second Maimon that the Orchim got. His first big charge from Eretz Yisrael. They're getting B'cho Hashem, B'cho Man Libi. It's also, they got work to do. Big Chassidim came, big Chassidim, big Maskilim. And the Oivdim came on that first historical charter trip. First time a plane was chartered was for Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Chaf Aleph. And they came at the end of Tafshin, the few days before Rosh Hashanah. Hence the Maimon that we learned was a Kabbalah spawning for them. And you'd know that the Maimon is always kind of, once the Rebbe said to the Nissen Nemenov that the Maimon is according to the Bochum Lot Chassidus that week. Which generally means it's the Fiyarach the Chassidim. They hear big Maskilim and even came, so they got work.
By the way, Melech came, if I'm not mistaken, Chaf Beis, just to let you know.
Oh, it's a Chaf Aleph. Okay, he came a year later. I was thinking, but now this is Chaim Yishol Brook and I think Goldschmidt. I don't know if he came, but good G'dayla Chassidim from Eretz Yisrael came. Garari Mistama, Moishe Garari, whatever. Just the gay, that's just throwing a bit of history here, which is a distraction. Okay, continue. Now, likewise, you start off saying that the oil itself, which means the koyach, the energy, the energy is the word energy, the divine energy that creates moreover. The divine energy that is the oil of ishtalshalos in the highest levels, so he said, is rooted where the oil shlifnei hatzimtzum, which is why the truth is always present, latent to be revealed. Now he says, even mitzad kelim, even after the oil is drawn into hardcore kelim, we're talking chesed, gevura, etc. Even though we say that the kelim have kind of a separate source from the oil, the kelim are from the tzimtzum, the actual contraction. Hainu is galis nekudas harishimo. Rishimo means a trace. Okay, this is a whole inyan that is explained. That's it's all based on the words of the h'tchk. What it says is that after the tzimtzum, there's this makom panoi, this vacuum, but there's an impression or a trace, an impression really, left by the Ein Sof. Again, this is physical language, and we do not mean anything physical, but we have
give a mushal. I want her to mushal. I want her to mushal.
If for children they give a mushal that you write something and you erase it, and there's a marker. It's a childish mushal, but you got to start somewhere. So it's been removed, but there's an impression made. Okay, this is the starting point in the mushal, but it's very far from obviously what we're talking about. But again, we are physical, limited people, so we start with Mishalem Gashmi. The point is, there's the Rishimo, the trace that's left, the impression of the Ein Sof. Now, what that means is, the Tzimtzum is not Kipshutai, as it was understood, the Alter Rebbe says, by those who misunderstood it. I mean, without going to the Protim, there's 4 ways to understand the Tzimtzum. There's four ways, because there's 2 components here. There's Atzmos and there's the oil. So the 4 positions are, is the Tzimtzum in Atzmos or the Tzimtzum in the oil? That's 2 positions. Kavayachal. And then there's Tzimtzum Kipshutai, not Kipshutai. Not Kipshutai in Atzmos, not Kipshutai in oil. And Chassidus says it's A in the oil and B not Kipshutai. Without going into the Pratim. We mentioned yesterday the latest, the hair talks about it, but I understand it doesn't go to the 4 shittas, just the general Indian. I didn't read it. At any rate, I'm just saying this. So it's not Kipshutai, obviously. There's an Ein Asar, less Asar Ponimine, there's no place void of him. And on a deeper level, there can be no place. It's not like there's no place void of him. The whole inyan of place cannot exist independent of him. Nothing can. So the whole thing is Shalek Pshutai. So therefore, there is a Shima, which means, Shima means the latent concealed presence remains. That's what it means. Very concealed way. Call it a trace, call it a... But it remains. There's no removal in the literal sense, period. There's no removal. It's a question of the recipient's perception. Anyway, let's just plow through this so we can spend on this, a long time. I don't know how successful we'll be in understanding more anyway. So let's get just the general idea. He spoke, pardon?
You could understand why it can't be very clear. Why it cannot be.
Yeah.
I mean, without going into this well, why it cannot be adopted.
In the end of the day, it's the most logical position. There's no place void of it. God cannot make a hole in himself, as it were, and remove his presence. It's a component. It's a local pashut. I'm just going to tell you, it's still not so simple. Anyway, but let's go on to them. So the
I was thinking much like this, but I mean clearly that
speak up about what?
I was thinking about the mashal you gave about yesh me'yesh and yesh me'ayin. You can't compare a keli which already exists.
Right.
That's pretty logical.
Oh, that's a mashal for why you need the ongoing force of creation. Yeah, it's all tied into this. Yeah, true. Okay. I'm saying it's still not so simple, the whole thing, obviously. At any rate, so let's just try and get somewhat technical here and understand. In the second paragraph of his Dalit, he said the Oir is rooted lifnei hatzimtzum. What about the Keli? The Keli is a post-Tzimtzum reality, and from the perspective of Keli, is it possible to have the hergish of the truth of Enyan Mulvada? The answer is yes, and explain why. So even though Kelim, unlike the Oir, penetrate the Tzimtzum, but the Kelim are from the Tzimtzum. They're a result of the Tzimtzum. Hainam is Galus Nekudas Rishimu, from what's left after the Oir has been, as it were, removed. The Rishimu. So, this is the Koyach HaGvul Shebe'ein Sof, but the Keli also is rooted in the Ein Sof. Why? Because it's from the Koyach HaGvul Shebe'ein Sof. The Ein Sof itself, as we said before, this is Shem Alikim. Hayden Aliyas Harotzen, that's the Koyach HaGvul. So that true is an Ein Sof Inyan. That namely Hashem has the power not just to express endlessly, but in a finite way. But that's all Him. Shofar Shakelim. So the answer is, the Keli also. Like even it's at the Kelim, it's at every component of Ishtalshalos. Not just the Mashpia component, but the Makabel component, the Keli. All of it has the potential to express the truth of Echad, because the Keli itself comes from where? And what's carried is the Koyach HaGvul of Ein Sof. That's the Shodesh. The Shodesh is the Koyach HaGvul. And even in the process of the Kelim, the emergence of the Kelim, She'ima Oir, which comes from the Oir, how obvious it's from the thickness of the light. The thickness of the light means it means that even as the Oir per se is revelatory, reveals the infinite, its light, its expansion, but carried within the Oir also is, maybe she can also reveal himself in a finite way. That's part of the these galus of the Shleimus of Likus. This means the thickness of the Oir. This is technical, physical language. What it means is that the Oir, which its overt function, its revelation and infinite, also whispers and carries the truth. Don't peg God with infinite. Maybe she can also express himself finite, in finitude, in Gvul. That's carried by the Oir. In the technical languages of Kabbalah, and from this truth that the Oir carries, that the Eibishter has the Koyach HaGvul, the Kelim emerge. Is built in the Kelim. Therefore, overtly, because the Kelim then emerge as Gvul, and from not from the obvious. Oir says, look at me, and you see Eibishter. There's no concealment there. When you see it in this infinite power, what do you see? God's infinite power. When you see Gvul, you're seeing Gvul. So it's a Dvekas built in. It's not obvious that Gvul, finitude, that's also Him. That's not obvious. You come Mokem, but it's true. The truth is that the Gvul and Kelim are also one with Him, just as His Oir is no differently. That's what Havaya Holikim means. Havaya is Oir, Holikim is Gvul. It's all Hu, it's all Atzmos. Sharei Gam. Kalim exists already emerging at Atzilus. And there, in the world of Atzilus, is not lost. That it's all one with him. He and his causations are one. Goes on the oil, causations goes on Kelim. It's all one. Even that which he causes, as it were, that's what the word literally means. They're truly united, even though their own world and Metzias. Chesed Gevurah. The explanation is that we're saying, because this is through Avodah really, and Atzilus it's natural, but our tachlis is to bring the Hergish of Atzilus in Elam Hazah. So it's about Atzilus. Then the Kelim of Atzilus, they feel that what are they? We're nothing other than the Shleimus of the Eibishter of Keich HaGvul. Ein Sof, meaning to say, the Mitzad Ein Sof itself, infinite itself, Lo Yemokim B'Elamis. Infinite has no relationship and cannot produce that which is flawed and finite. Elish Mitzad Shleimus Ein Sof. Mitzad the Shleimus of Ein Sof, which is more than classic infinite, beyond infinite, the Shleimus, Koiche Gam B'Gvul. He can express himself and give rise even to Gvul. Shim Leitoimek, and he's quoting here from the Sefer HaKodesh. If you don't say so, you just peg the Eibush as infinite per se, classically. And that means that he lacks perfection because he can't express himself in a way which is imperfect or finite. Finite is imperfect. Quoting 51 from HaKodesh. If you say that he's only bligvul, you detract from his shleimus. Behind those, the truth is and therefore the kelim also, even mitzad the hardcore gvul components of ishtalshalos, the emes that it's all him is also late, and it's expressed in Atzilus, and now Avodah is to reveal it lamat, and that's echad. Echad again is to bring the truth of Yochid into even post-creation. Okay, we'll continue this tomorrow. Summarize it and continue.